Welcome back. We are still working with functions. This is our second lesson on functions. Let's go ahead and get started. In today's lesson on functions, we are going to be combining some functions. So we'll be working with a couple of different machines at a time. As you can see here, I have a couple of our function machines already drawn for us. And what we're going to do is work with, I have a function machine named F and one named H. And this function machine F I'm going to program with an 2x plus 1 will be my rule on that one. So we can see it a little better. 2x plus 1. And then my rule on machine H, we're going to program with an x minus 4. We'll keep it simple to start with. And in combining functions, we're going to start out with some fairly simple combining. And what we'll do is we're going to start with some addition. So in addition, what I'm going to do is I'm going to suggest that we put a number into F. And let's just take a 3 as an example. And then I'm going to add that to something that I've put into H. And let's just put a 1 in for H. So I'm using function notation again, like we did on the last lesson. And what I'm going to do is take the 3 and plug it into our first function and get an answer for that. Then I'm going to come over to my H function, put a 1 into the machine for H, get an answer for that, and I'll add my answers together. So doing some algebra here, I would represent this as 2 times 3 plus 1. That was my F function. And my H function over here was x minus 4. So on this side, I have 1 minus 4. So here we go. On this particular function, I've got 6 plus 1. And I'm adding that to, on the H, when I put in the 1 minus 4 was a negative 3. I can add those two answers together and combine those functions for 4. Fairly simple combining. And our function notation shows exactly what numbers we're plugging into which functions. So not only can I do this with addition, I can do this with subtraction just as easily. I can also do it with multiplication and division. And when I show these, let's just try an example over here of multiplying. Let's take times, oh, I guess I have an H there. So I'm taking the 3, plugging it into my F machine. My answer was a 7. I've already done the work on that. And I'm going to multiply it times my answer from the H function, which was a 1. When I put in the 1, I got out a negative 3. Those are very simplistic examples. We're going to get a little more detailed here now. A little more complicated as we combine functions. And I'm going to give us a few little rules here. When I'm combining functions, sometimes I can use symbols that are slightly different than this. If I'm plugging the same number into both equations, I can show that what I'm doing will look like this. These two things, they're symbols that mean the same thing. I'm adding the results of my functions together. And I'm just going to give you a list so that you see these symbols and know what they represent. When I subtract functions, it will look like this. If I'm multiplying my functions together, I can show using this symbol. And dividing is the same thing. If I'm dividing my functions, f divided by g of x. So just some basic information for you there on combining functions and what the notation looks like. So let's use that now in a couple of examples. Remember again, I'm going to remind us here that our f function, I'm going to go ahead and continue using these, was 2x plus 1, and our h function, h of x, was x minus 4. So I'm going to continue using the same rules, but this time what I'm going to try to find, f plus g of x. I'm not plugging in any particular number. I'm putting the x back in there and adding my two functions together. What I'm getting is a simplified version of these two combined. So f plus g of x, when I add those together, remember on here what that means is I'm adding this function plus this function. 2x plus 1 plus x minus 4. I have my first function and I'm adding it to my second function. And then I'll simplify this. To simplify this, I'm going to combine like terms, and I have 3x minus 3. So f plus g of x simplifies to 3x minus 3. Now that I've combined those two functions together, if I wanted to put a number in for this, I could just plop it right here into the x. Let's try another one. Let's try f times g of x. Multiplying 2x plus 1 times x minus 4. And so now I have to distribute. And I'm going to be multiplying this out then. 2x squared minus 8x plus the 1x minus 4. And I can simplify 2x squared minus 7x minus 4. So my function here, f times g of x equals 2x squared minus 7x minus 4. Okay, combining functions. Now, we're going to move on to something called composition of functions, which is a little bit different. Composition. We're still working with two machines, so I'm going to go ahead and draw those two machines again for us. I have my F machine, or G, or whatever name this happens to be. And then I'm going to take another machine and draw it down here.